and punishing
value
lions.
judgments, the value judge that say, oh, it's bad, but it has to eat the zebra to
That's
survive.
what it is. People say, you think that the zebra is a poor zebra, it's dying, but maybe if the lion won't kill the zebra, what are the lions gonna eat? The baby lions, You have to stay out of it. It's God's business. The wildlife is not the place to use human standards of morality. The jungle has its own rules, and that's the way it is. We don't punish lions for being cruel, because that's what they were created. We don't eat lions, because if we eat lions, we could develop cruelty. One of the reasons for the mitzvah of kosher. That's not the ultimate reason. There's because also there's kainan. We don't eat camels. Camels are not cruel either. But that's one of the ideas behind it. So the animal, when we're saying klipa is bad. There's two terms, two kinds of bad. There's bad by choice and there's bad by design. Klipa is created the lowest world, and it's bad by design. When the klipa is klipa, the klipa does its job of trying to, just by its being. It's not that we're not talking about someone. It's just a reality which we all live in, and tries to pull us away from living for a higher cause. There's nothing wrong with the lion being a lion. There's nothing wrong with the Yitzhar being a Yitzhara. He is an angel. He's doing his mission. Baal Shem Tov said that we should learn from the Yitzhara how to serve Hashem. Look how he does his job so faithfully. Look how successful he is in doing his mission from God, which is to make you sin. We should learn, have the same dedication to do our mission, which is to win the Yitzhara. This is God's business. He creates this fusion between us and the Klippa. But the Klippa is doing its job. There's another type of bad, which is bad by choice. We are created higher. We definitely could be tempted by the evil, but we don't have to fall for it. We don't have to give in. When we choose to give in, then we are worse. That's what we said earlier, that mosquito is better off than you. Because the mosquito is being selfish and taking and not giving, but that's what he's supposed to do. That's what God made him to do. We don't know why. King David, he wondered why Hashem created spiders, right? God showed him, saved his life once. Some things we know, some things we'll never find out. But we know that if something was created in a certain way, that's its nature, that's the way God wants it to be. So it's bad, but we don't hold it responsible. We do try to stay away from it. The Rebbe spoke many times about how children shouldn't play with, even see, try to that not kosher animals should not become of course we don't eat them, but they shouldn't even be, teddy bears and things like Mickey Mouse, because it's bad, not because it's a bad friend, or it has a bad influence on us, even on such a level. It does, we have to stay away from it, but it is klipa, it is low, and it is bad, and our decision has to be to stay away from it. But is it bad? Is it disobeying Hashem's will? No, Hashem's will is that it should be bad, and that's what it's doing, and it's doing a very good job at it. Our job is to reject it. When we don't reject it, when we give in to that bad by choice, then you're in big trouble. When people kill like animals, then we definitely have to maintain justice. We have to punish them. We have to make sure, mainly in ourselves, not to fall into different forms of selfishness and evil that there could be. Some are more obvious than others, some are less, but they're all evil. They're all about disobeying God's will. And this is the idea of all the mitzvahs, all the types of mitzvahs, various the 365 sins that are possible for a person to do, are different forms of disconnecting from that oneness of Hashem, from that true reality of there's nothing other than Him, that He's the only true reality in the world. It's all different ways of us. Now, Hashem is not expecting us to eliminate the klipa from the world. Hashem will do that. Hashem is expecting of us to maintain that superiority that we have over the klipa, that wants us to be on a level where animals or lions will be scared of us because they see that we're in the image of God. Maybe not on Daniel's level, but on our level. That's what we are expected to keep, to have those boundaries clear, that we are people. We were given choice. The reason why we're given choice is so we could rise higher than ourselves, not go lower than ourselves. And if we choose to become lower, we're worse. Because being bad by design is not the bad. You can't say a bad person. There's no person who's bad by design. There's people that are bad by education, but it's also
They choose to be bad.
yeah. So some people. So usually people are not created to be bad. They're created to be tempted to be bad. That's fine. So a thing which is bad by design, bad by creation, is doing its job. It says that the Gemara says that the world cannot do without a tanner and without a perfume seller. Right? We need we need lawyers and we need doctors and we need sanitation workers. A tanner was a job that was associated with a person that dealt with it the way they used to do it. At least in the olden days, they used to use manure and different not pleasant substances to prepare the skins. So the Gemara says we need both, but lucky is someone who deals with perfume, and unlucky is someone who has to deal with that. So there are holy things that God created, and angels which are created and designed to be holy, and there are things that were created by Hashem to be klipa, to be unholy.
But if we didn't have the tanner, we wouldn't have tefillin, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm saying the world needs the tanner, the world needs the klipa. Hashem created for a reason. It's to challenge the good in us and to protect that great potential we spoke about at length. But that's the way Hashem made it. Bilam, the big Rasha, he said, I cannot disobey God. He told Balak, as much as I want to. Believe me, I want to curse the Jews more than you do. But God doesn't let me. I tried to outsmart him. It didn't work. Yeah?
This explains why Israel's always on the microscope. The nation's already putting Israel on the microscope. Some little thing happens in Israel, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa,
Saying that, I read today that they said it was like 25% of the 95% of the human rights violations are coming from Israel.
Right.
Really? They said that?
And of the claims, the judgments. Where 95% of the world's civil rights violators are certainly not in Israel. So that's the.
There's a very good video, Alan Dershowitz pointing out how that we have how much more human rights and justice, legal system than in the Arab countries. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but the world holds us up to higher standards. It's true. We are the chosen nation. I mean, not that what they blame us for is true, but
because that's what Bechira, because Israel has
the Jews are. We do have higher standards than the rest of the world. But anyway, so the fact that klipa is klipa, that unholy is unholy and holy is the way God made it. The problem begins when someone who has the potential to be holy chooses to be unholy. And when someone has the potential of being holy becomes unholy, he lowers himself below the klipa. Because being bad by design is a decree from God. Being bad by choice is something that you brought upon yourself, and you actually switched the roles now. You became lower than the lowest. And that's every sin. It's distancing yourself from the truth of God. And we have to... Now another whole part of the chapter, we got carried away on the klipa. It was a good thing. It wasn't a... but another whole chapter discusses the idea of... I guess we'll just get into the point. So, the point that the Alter Rebbe is making very clear to us is you should know that every Avera is falling into the hands of the Klippa, making yourself lower than the Klippa. You're being more evil than evil that God made. God didn't make you evil. God made evil, but He didn't make you evil. You made yourself evil. And choosing to be evil is a crime. Being evil is not a crime. It's just evil and disgusting and bad, but it's not a crime. Lions kill. It's not something that we want to learn from them, but that's something that they do, and we don't hold them responsible. But people killing is something that we cannot accept, so any type of klipa which is a reality which goes against God. For kosher, there's things that are not kosher. It's a reality which is against God, so to speak. God made it against Him. God said Jews should eat these animals and not these things, and this is something which is by its existence is representing the opposite of God's will.
Prohibited.
Yeah, that's what when Mashiach comes. There's statements that for example, the chazer, the pig, will become kosher, it represents this concept. What exactly that means is another whole topic. But
even in the name Hatzir, it's half kosher because it has a split hoof. Or it
right.
does one, but not the other.
Chazir means that it will go back, become kosher. So we see that even not kosher animals at a certain point they will become kosher. They won't have that predator nature anymore. We have such concepts. We see that the evil will become better when Mashiach comes. But that's evil by design. Evil by choice is a bad choice, which you don't have to do. And you do it, you're worse than it.
The humans are the only one that have that problem, right?
Right. Yeah. The problem and
Atem krum odem.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Atem krum?
Now within that, goyim have less. There are a lot of. If a guy eats not kosher, is he doing a sin? He's not doing a sin. Is not kosher food something bad? Yes. But the goy is a lot. It's bad. It's bad for everyone. But goyim are not expected to not do that form of bad because they are on a lower level. Their souls, they're still expected to certain mitzvahs.
It's not bad for them. It's not bad.
It's not bad for them.
Right.
Is it klipa? Yes. It is bad because it's distant from Hashem, but they have no problem doing it because they're also distant from Hashem. Just like lions kill because that's the way God made them.
I saw a sikha recently, a clip from a sikha where the Rebbe is saying that, talking about to Jewish children, that they see the nation, they see your neighbors or other people, other nations, and they eat not kosher food, and it doesn't harm them. And the Rebbe says in that sikha, and adrabah, it's good for them, and it gives them vitality and it vitalizes them, but it's not fit for
a Jew.
For a Jew, it's not kosher, so the Jew has the kosher laws.
And let's say there's different levels of how far, even within klipa. Let's say a horse could be used to ride on to do a mitzvah. You can't eat it; it cannot become part of you. But the energy of the horse could be used, etc., etc. So now that we know this about sin, that every sin in essence is just as bad as serving idols. We spoke about kosher idolatry. It says that I mentioned it also last week that Chazal say that people who live outside of the whole of Eretz Yisrael, they are serving idols in a kosher way. It's a bit of a free translation. What does that mean? Living in a reality in Israel, within our world, Eretz Yisrael, the reason why Jews are all supposed to go back to Israel is because when Mashiach comes, Eretz Yisrael even now has a holiness to it. Within the physical world, it's closer to Hashem. And living outside of Israel, which in essence is not ideal for a Jew. Jews are supposed to live in Israel, even now. Not always we have that ability, but for different reasons. But ideally, a Jew is supposed to strive to live in Israel. Is because in Israel, a person is closer to Hashem. So living out of Israel is bad. It is bad. It's not good. It's not a good thing to live out of Israel. It's kosher because the person either has a mission or for parnasa. Hashem put him in a position that, the Rambam lives in Egypt. In Egypt, it's a sin to live. It says the Rambam would sign someone who transgresses 3 averos daily when he lives in Egypt. In Egypt, there's 3 averos connected to living to Egypt, not to return and not to stay. So Rambam wrote, what was the Rambam telling us over here? Why couldn't he get up and go? He couldn't get up and go. But he recognized that his living in Israel, in Egypt, he's forced to be in a situation which is unideal. He didn't forget that the whole time. Sometimes if you at least can't live in the ideal situation, at least don't idolize. Is that a word?
Yeah.
I think it also comes from the same concept. It's like an idol. It's just play on words.
Idealize or idolize?
I was saying.
You think they're similar?
When you idealize a klipa situation, you say, well, I'm stuck here. I'm living in the world. Of course I'm not as far from close to Hashem like if I'm a soul without a body. So yeah, for you to utilize it, to live in Egypt and to bring, the Rambam used, even in Egypt he accomplished so much, by reminding himself on a constant basis that he's living in a place which is sin. And the same thing, living out of Israel. It's not an ideal situation for a Jew. It's avodah zarah b'tara, it's kosher idolatry. And if we idealize it, we're making it into an idol. If we recognize that it's klipa, it's not a good situation for a Jew to be in, then we could utilize the good parts in it and recognize why God sent us. So every sin is in essence bad. In essence avodah zarah. Sometimes something which is beyond you, like living out of Israel is a form of avodah zarah. Definitely a sin that's done by choice. And any sin brings a person lower than the lowest, lower than the lowest creature, which only takes and doesn't give. So that's just like doing Hashem's will is becoming a chariot, a merkava, a vehicle for Hashem. Doing against Hashem was becoming a vehicle for the opposite. And that's why we should be ready to give up our life for God, even give up our temptations for God, just like we'd give up our life not to do avodah zarah, because sinning is avodah zarah. So where does the myth of big sins and small sins come from? It says a person only sins because a spirit of folly enters him. The spirit of folly tells him that there's small sins and big sins.
There are levels of sin.
Yosef, when he was in Mitzrayim, when he was contemplating, he was something about Avon Gadol Kazeh. So he quantified. He put into significance the amount of.
There's bigger sins and there's smaller sins. Right?
He didn't sin. Didn't Yosef not sin?
He didn't, but he said what he told the wife of Potiphar is, how could I do this great sin? Such a great sin. The myth is not entirely untrue. There's things that a person does that, according to the Torah, if a person serves idols or desecrates the Shabbats, he gets stoned. There's things that you get lashes. There are things that you have to bring a carbon. There are things that you don't get any punishment. You just have to do tshuva.
What if somebody today does something that's chayav mitah? How do they?
Tshuva could save him from that.
But it has to be a special tshuva, no?
Bigger tshuva.
If it's a chayav mitah.
So there is a basis for a concept of big sin and small sin. Yeah, not even every sin you have to give up your life. Only for the three big ones, the three bigs. Yeah, idolatry, adultery, and murder. Those are Yeharig V'Alyav. A person is expected to let himself be killed and not transgress. Now if actual Shabbos, it says a person is in danger, he should desecrate the Shabbos. Yeah, if someone there definitely are levels of mitzvahs. The Alter Rebbe explains like this: levels of mitzvahs are not, and therefore the punishment. Some mitzvahs and various have bigger punishments than others. Is not an expression of this is a bigger sin, this is a smaller sin. Any sin, in essence, is the same. It's an act which declares that I don't recognize that Hashem is the true reality. I don't recognize that Hashem is in charge. However, different sins have a different effect on the world. You have to differentiate between the sin itself, the act of sinning, and in which way you sin. The fact that you sinned is equal. What you did to sin, in which way you disobeyed Hashem's will, there's a difference. And difference is in what it does to the world. The effect on your soul and the effect on the world. Some sins have a greater effect. Let's put it this way, every sin is like a cut. Once a person cuts himself, makes a wound, he did something which in essence is the same, but there's a deeper cut which has bigger consequences, and there's a smaller cut. He's losing blood, he's losing life. But there's bigger ones that require a bigger surgery, a bigger procedure to fix it. That's why the punishment or the tshuva is going to be bigger for some sins, and some sins is not as big, because the effect that these sins have on the world and on the person are not as severe, for different reasons. But don't let it lead you to the myth that some sins are big and small, in the sense that it's not so bad if I do this. It's all very bad. Not everything could kill you spiritually. Some sins kill you spiritually. Some sins only wound you. Some sins wound you badly, spiritually speaking. But all sins, the act of being rebellious is equal. If it's Lashon Hara or if it's bound to the cross, it's all the same. In the sense of what damage it makes, there is levels, there is differences. But the act itself, the rebellious act of going against Hashem is equal. That's why we find differences, but not in any way to diminish the effect of sin. That's what the sages say, that sinning comes from Ruach Shtus. Every sin is an un-Jewish act. Don't let yourself think that there's sins that are okay. They're not good, but they don't make me un-Jewish. Every sin makes you connected, but makes you un-Jewish. makes you live in that illusion that Hashem is not the only thing, and that's the real count. So the punishment, and the Alter Rebbe goes into quite a interesting discussion. He gives different proofs why. For example, Shabbos is not one of the three, but for Shabbos you give up your life. You don't have to. You're not supposed to give up your life to save Shabbos.
But in such a case where on Shabbos, if they televise a Jewish person and they say in front of 1 million people on TV, Mechal Shabbos, in front of 1 million people, and it's televised worldwide, I think in such a situation, a Jewish person is supposed to be supposed to give up his life, even though it's not one of the three Averos.
There's something called Shas Hashmad, which is similar to what, I don't know if that particular example would fit in, but it says if there's a government which is campaigning actively against Judaism, then it says even for customs you're supposed to give up your life, even for a minute. It says that there's a certain point in history, the Jews wore black laces, not red laces on their shoes. And it's if there's what's called Shas Hashmad, if the government is trying to eradicate Judaism in any way they could, and even if they force you to wear red shoelaces, which is just a Jewish custom not to wear, you're supposed to give up your life. And that's the example they bring. I'm not sure particularly if, let's say in Russia, Soviet Union, it was called Shas Hashmad, then Jews were expected to, not only for the big three, even for smaller things, Mesiras Nefesh was required. But we're talking about it more in general. So there's different examples where we see that, for example, someone who... Huh?
Well, to take you all the time, I don't have to go pretty soon.
Alright, okay. I think we'll end over here.
Yeah.
You could look inside the differences, but the Alter Rebbe is just proving that the three big and small, some sins are smaller in one way and bigger in another way. The punishment doesn't define the quality of the mitzvah. Every avera is very bad and every mitzvah is very holy, equally. The punishment is all different things that make one punishment over the other. Right.
Does each chapter have a title?
No.
They never named one, sort of like more or less what the topic is going to be?
The Tzemach Tzedek, he wrote a kitzer, concise, one-line topic for every chapter.
It exists?
It exists, but it wasn't, the author himself didn't write. But it all goes in a very, you see that map on the wall that gives a summary.
I see, good.
Thanks for reminding us to stop, David.